So let's talk for a minute about sleeping gear with overlanding. If you've checked YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, or any of these influencers, you've probably already made up your mind that you have to have a $3,000 rooftop tent, a $100,000 rig, and $50,000 worth of equipment put into that stupid thing. Otherwise, you're just going to wither away and die out on the trail. That's not true. The reason I know is because I've been doing this since long before I even knew it had a name. Let's dispel some of that myths and talk about some stuff that can get you out on the trail today. So guys, welcome back. My name is Matt with Bam Ranch. We talk about building a life you love living through preparedness-based homesteading. We're in the process of building a complete and total overland rig for under $10,000, and that includes the cost of the vehicle. Most of this stuff you probably already have, and you could probably get out of doing this for just a few $100, so stick around because today we're talking about the sleeping gear. Now, the most popular type of sleeping gear is absolutely the rooftop tent. It's what everybody wants to have. I want to have one. I don't have one, but it's an absolute icon in the overlanding world. Next best options offer up things like a truck cab or a camper shell, whatever you want to call it, but things like that. I don't have either one of those, although with this new rig that we're going to be buying and building out, I would like to put a camper shell on it. But let's discuss the things that I have used my entire life that worked out just fine. So today's video is made possible by Workos, but more on that later. This is the part of the video where we drop a couple truth bombs and discuss a couple realities with overlanding and sleeping. One of the first realities is to thinking that you're going to be sleeping on the trail every single night. You might very well be traveling to get to where you're going to sleep and have to make that first night in a Walmart parking lot or in a truck stop. And that requires an entirely different sleep system than what you'd use on the trail. On the trail, you can use your rooftop tent, your ground tent, all of that stuff all day long. However, that's not going to fly in a Walmart parking lot. In a Walmart parking lot, you're going to have to do something a whole lot more stealthy, which brings us to the first type of sleeping. So the first way that you can sleep is just in the cab of whatever it is you're driving. I use a pickup, and I've used a pickup my whole life, so that's what I've got to deal with. If you've got a Tahoe or a 4Runner or a Toyota Corolla, you're going to have to make some adjustments to make it work for you. But the first option, that came untied. The first option is to just recline the seats and take a nap. That works great. I've done it a whole bunch of times. I'm sure almost anybody watching this video has also, at one time in their life, slept in the front seat of a vehicle. To go along with sleeping in that vehicle, you need to think about how are you going to block out the light and block out the view to the inside of that vehicle, especially if you're in a public spot and you need to be a little bit stealthy. Yes, a windshield, sunshade thing or whatever, but also go and get you some cardboard, spray paint it black, and block off your view from the other windows. You don't want somebody pestering you, telling you to get off their property while you're trying to sleep, and street lights and stuff like that. They're just annoying to sleep with. After you block off your windows, you're going to need a little bit of ventilation. Choose your own adventure on how you're going to do that, but this is difficult to do if you're in an area with bugs. And then we talk about how to actually sleep a little bit more comfortable than just in the reclined seat. As a rule of thumb, the passenger seat normally leans back a little bit further. Not all vehicles, but I think almost every vehicle I've had, the passenger seat went back further and was more comfortable to sleep in than the driver's seat. If you can find some way to prop up the arch of your back or something like that, it takes away some of the irregular shape of sleeping in a car seat. And that really does help out a lot. Another thing is, almost all vehicles have some way to modify those seats to make them lay back almost horizontally. Yes, your knees are still going to be bent, but it's going to be a whole lot more comfortable. There is a possibility that that'll avoid your warranty, or possibly cause some insurance issues in the future. So do so at your own risk. Now, it's not always the best option, but one thing I always keep in the vehicle is one of those longer pads that you get at like the dollar store or Home Depot that goes in a lawn chair. One of the longer ones, and I use that as my sleeping mat. The air mattresses are nice, the little blow up kind, but they're just not that reliable. It seems like they're always leaking on you or something like that. It's just something I don't want to mess with. And my lawn chair mat is about 3/4 length and it seems to work out perfect. I tend to take one of those if I'm sleeping in a front seat of the truck, and lay it over the back of the seat, kind of halfway, and it changes the geometry of that sleeping position just enough to make it really, really comfortable. After that, we move to the back seat. The back seat is different for every vehicle. With mine, I have a GMC crew cab, and what I like to do with that is just lay the seat flat. It makes a flat platform that you can sleep on really well. Honestly, I don't always do that because I'm lazy and I just stretch out across the back seat. But if you're going to be doing it for any extended period of time, I recommend that you make some sort of a raised platform to sleep back there. It works out really good. You know, I can sleep in the front seat. My son can sleep across the back seat, or vice versa. It works out great. It is a little bit short. I'm 6'2", so if I do that, I've got to prop my feet up on the door panel or something. And I can kind of change the position of my sleeping pad to give just enough of an incline to my head so that that kind of makes that shape a little bit more pleasant to sleep with. I'll put some video in of me doing that. And either sleep on my side or kind of curl up a little bit or prop my feet up on the dash. I'm a side sleeper anyway, so that really doesn't bother me too much. That's just natural for me to do. But in all honesty, it is going to be a lot more comfortable for you to build a sleeping platform. You can kind of go diagonally across that back seat area and you can get another foot of space out of that. And you can have your head at the front and your feet toward the back, so the person who's sleeping in the front can kind of recline theirs a little bit and you're out of their way, and it just makes things a whole lot nicer. If you are sleeping in a public place, you need to have some type of protection with you. Never mind. Some type of protection with you, because there's all kinds of bugs and boogers that could be willing to get you if you're in public. So carry some type of way to protect yourself from those things that you would rather not have with you. Bugs, man. Probably one of my favorite things to do is to sleep in the bed. I haven't been able to do that in a long time because you really need some way to keep the bugs and rain off of you. That's where the truck cap really comes in pretty good. With this rig that we're going to be buying, we haven't found one yet, but if it doesn't have a truck cap of some kind or a topper, whether that be a soft shell or a hard shell, camper shell, I really want to put one of those on there. It keeps all your gear from getting all dusty and buggy and wet and muddy, and you know, hey, you got a 6 or an 8 foot bed to sleep in. You've just got endless amounts of options for that. And I will say that might actually even be a better option than a rooftop tent. But let's move on to the one thing that I have probably done more than anything else. Don't let that cab sleeping kind of turn you off. It's a perfectly viable option, but one thing I do more than anything else is sleep in a ground tent. I've got a couple different kinds of tents that I sleep in. The first one is like a youth tent from Walmart that's like $30. It is of absolute $30 quality. It's not great, but it doesn't take up any space at all, and it sleeps one adult pretty good. It goes up in just a couple minutes. Yes, it's $30 quality, but I've got some duct tape. If I tear it, I put duct tape on it, and whenever the duct tape doesn't hold anymore, it's $30. I replace it every 2 years and call it good. Second option I have is a Kelty tent. I think it's like I think they say it's a 6-person tent. I don't know how in the hell you're ever going to get 6 people in there. 3 adults is about the most I'm going to want to do. But it really is a better quality tent. It's big enough that you can stand up in and get a little bit of privacy so that you can change clothes or have to wait out a storm or something. I can actually move one of these chairs inside it and stay pretty comfortable if I'm waiting out a rainstorm, which you really kind of need to plan for, right? Even if you don't think it's going to rain, you need to plan on, if it does, how are you going to wait that storm out? But anyway, choose what you want. You could pick a backpacking tent if you want. You need to have a ground cloth to put down on the ground to protect that tent. And you need to have plenty of guy lines and extra cordage to be able to tie that thing down. because a 50-mile-an-hour wind will carry it off like a kite. That Kelty tent that I have actually had it in probably 50-mile-an-hour winds, and it did just fine. One day, it was really, really windy. We actually took the tent down, and I did bend one of the poles. I sent one email to Kelty, and they replaced them, sent them to me in the mail, never even asked a word about it. They just acknowledged that they were bent, sent me new ones. Speaking of wind, it doesn't matter if you spend $1,000 on a ground tent. The tent stakes will always be absolute crap. Spend the few dollars and upgrade your tent stakes, or fire up the welder and make your own that are absolutely bomb-proof. But yeah, there's no shame in sleeping in a ground tent. And I actually prefer a ground tent in a lot of cases. It makes an awesome base camp area. You know, you can go and do expeditions from that. You know, you get your lawn chairs and everything set up, set you an awning up. It makes a nice little place to hang a fan in. So, like I said, don't discount sleeping in a ground tent. There's nothing wrong with that. And get one that goes up quickly. And I don't know that it's really going to be a whole lot longer setup time than it would be with a fancy rooftop tent anyway. There are other options available, and that's absolutely true. There's little teardrop campers. So there's those badass little off-road campers, pop-up campers. There is sleeping in a hotel, which isn't always a terrible idea. There's cabins, which is actually kind of nice. If you can splurge, you know, one night and stay in a really cool, rustic, historic cabin, or just one of the, you know, dry cabins that there is on national forest land or something, that actually works really well too. One thing about it, no matter where you sleep, you're going to want some sort of little compact flashlight, just for if you have to get up and pee, or you drop something, or just little things like that. The lanterns are really cool, but having some sort of a flashlight is really nice. Workos did send me this little thing, and it's actually pretty cool. It, you know, clips onto something. It's also magnetic. I've got it on the safety mode, so it doesn't automatically, you know, turn on in my pocket. You hold the button down, and it comes on. It's fairly dim. Click that 3 times, it goes to a regular mode. And that right there is a good enough light to be able to, you know, work with. There's a spotlight mode. And then the turbo is super bright on this thing. I was really impressed. But I've been carrying this thing with me for about 2 weeks. And man, I have to say, I really like it. I'll put a link to this in Amazon below. They paid me nothing for this review, but I always like to share something that's cool whenever I see it. That will be your absolute most used piece of camping gear, bar none. So yeah, whatever you decide, don't be afraid to get your lawn chairs out and your tables. Have a good time, and it's important to have a chance to stop and relax for a minute. That's the whole reason we're doing any of this, is to kind of relax and enjoy ourselves. So spend the amount of money you need to be able to relax. Wake up rested, especially if you've been driving for 14 hours or something ridiculous. Being able to pull over and have a nice, comfortable spot to chill is really pretty important. Well, I ran out of stuff to hold up for the video for a pointer, so I guess that's probably where we're going to end it. The next video will probably either be setting up camp life while you're overlanding, or portable power, because we've all got stuff that we need to charge and things like that. Unless you guys want something different, and then I absolutely don't mind entertaining that either. So anyway, until next time, hey, you guys be safe.